welcome viewers to this last episode on script writing. This is the 30th episode, and in this particular episode, we are going to go a little against what we have been discussing so far in the last 29 episodes. Because in the previous episodes, we discussed about the virtues of script writing and the importance of planning everything, preempting everything and putting it down on script, to make the shooting smoother, to make it more economical and so on and so forth. But in this particular episode, we will discuss things that go beyond the script, or things that enter, elements that enter into the film in spite of the script. Something which has not been preempted or which has not been anticipated. So with me I have two students in the studio, Sayantan Mukherjee pursuing Bachelor of Media Science, and he has completed 4 semesters, 2 more semesters to go, and Chandril Rai Chaudhary, he is pursuing a Bachelor's in Social Science from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. He also has 1 more year to go. So let's get straight into the subject. Now, in all these episodes of script writing, we have been saying that it's important to develop a script because you have to do the research. You can't make a film just by going out in the street with the camera. It has to be clear in your mind what you want, and the process of writing will bring that clarity to your mind. Absolutely. And through the script, you actually share your vision with your entire crew and cast. Once you write the script, then you can plan your shoot, and it can be more economical shooting, and so many virtues of script writing. All right. But in this last episode, we will just discuss that in spite of meticulous planning and putting down everything on paper, there are certain things that enter the film without proper plan, and those things may sometimes enrich the film. Yes. Okay, so we will consider some of those cases. Now, in documentaries, you cannot anyway preempt everything because you are playing with real people. Yes. They are the subject of your film and in real life situation. Okay, so you cannot preempt what people are going to say or what's going to happen at the next moment. So you take a lot of chances and you shoot a lot more till the drama comes out from their everyday reality.
I mean, we write a script, but there is no planning.
We write a treatment, but then we often break that treatment. Yeah. Yes. The treatment again helps to discipline our thinking process. Yes. Okay, but when it comes to fiction writing, as you know, Hitchcock used to plan every little thing. He used to draw the storyboard, and then he closed his book and said, "Now my film is over," without shooting a single scene.
Pretty confident.
Yeah. Okay. So he believed in that kind of a meticulous scripting. Yes. Okay. So there are many, even in India also we have filmmakers like that who believe in such meticulous scripting. But the point is that even when you do such meticulous scripting, there may be instances where, like this young filmmaker Umesh Kulkarni said that God saw us working so hard, so it was God's gift to us. He was pleased with us and he gifted it to us at the right moment. Okay, so things that you had not anticipated that come into the frame, and those are interesting elements that enrich the frame, that may add a new meaning also. Yes. Now, Umesh Kulkarni he is an FTIA graduate from Pune, so his diploma film was Girni. It was a much awarded film. So in Girni, it's a short story about a little boy whose mother has to support her family. There is an invalid grandfather in the family, and they live in a chawl, just a 1-room apartment. So the mother takes loan and gets a atta chakki in the house. She can make atta from gehu grains. Okay, so that's her livelihood, and so constantly in the house there is always this groan of that atta chakki. Continuously it is the motor is running and it's making atta out of gehu. Okay, so the little boy, he grows mad because that begins to eat his brains. The continuous sound begins to eat his brain. And one day he can't take it anymore. He just, in a fit of rage, he pushes the whole thing out of the window. That entire attachment he pushes out of the window. And grandfather is invalid. Grandfather is seeing everything, but he cannot get up from the bed. He cannot do anything. So at that moment, when he is pushing the thing, there was a little dabba, little steel this thing on a rack. Okay, so in that pushing and in that momentum, that upturned and then that rolled into the frame and rolled like that, it rolled out like that. So that added to that brought one more layer to his frustration. Okay, so that is not something that was planned. So Umesh says that it was God's gift to us, and we let it be. We didn't go for another take. We let it be. All right. So there are other examples made earlier. A film called Mohanagar. It was made in the early 60s. The very last scene is the camera cranes up. Okay, and the two protagonists, Madhavi and Anil Chatterjee, they walk hand in hand. Anil Chatterjee has lost his job and Madhavi has given her resignation. So both of them are jobless. Okay, but still they're hopeful that in this big city they will get something, will emerge, they will get something. So they walk hand in hand, then they walk into the sunset kind of thing, and the camera cranes up and takes a high angle shot of the city and the two protagonists walking away hand in hand. Alright, so when the camera cranes up, in the foreground is the lamp post, so one light is on and the other light is off. So people have written theses on that, ki my God, what symbolic representation, hope and despair together, etc., etc. But then Ray says that it was just accidental. When the camera craned up, he saw that only one light was on, and he didn't want to. He realized that it's a nice thing, nice symbolism, but it was not a planned symbolism at all.
Really lucky.
Yeah, he was really lucky. So like that, things happen in spite of proper planning. The happy coincidences happen, and unplanned things come into the frame that enrich the frame, that add one more visual dimension to the frame. So have you heard of stories like this? Do you have such stories to tell? You might have read in the net or something about certain scenes in famous films which were not planned like that.
There was actually it is very recent that I read about it in a website, I don't remember which. There was a movie called Django Unchained. It's a movie of Quentin Tarantino. Almost towards the conclusion of the movie, there was Leonardo DiCaprio. He went on to a fit of rage. He was really shouting and he was angry. In his room, he had realized something. I'm not giving away the ending, but in that scene, he accidentally smashed the glass in his hand.
So that's what so things like that happen.
Yes,
okay.
They do happen.
So that was also an interesting example. Now there are some filmmakers who actually make a virtue of these happy coincidences. Okay, who do not believe in meticulous scripting, so they loosely script the film so that these last moment changes or last moment improvisations can come in and they can enrich the narrative eventually. Okay, now Manikal was one such filmmaker. He died recently, about a couple of years back, I think, or maybe less. Now Manikal was an FTII graduate. He was a direct student of Ritwik Ghatak when Ritwik Ghatak was the vice principal at FTII. And Manikal, it is said about Manikal, there are lots of myths about Manikal. Now one of the myths is that when he went to a location for film, and these people didn't really shoot in the sets, they didn't so much believe in shooting in this. They always shot in the location. Okay, so when he went to a location for shooting, he took his camera and he told his cameraman that blindly turn the camera with around a 360 degree and where the camera stops, let that be the opening frame of the film. Instead of planning the opening frame and measuring everything with a light meter, the measuring the light condition, this, that. So he didn't believe in that kind of meticulous planning, because he said that our life also begins like this. Our life doesn't begin in a planned way. One fine day you wake up, you just see anything, and the day progresses accordingly.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, and similarly in a film also, let that be the starting point, wherever the camera stops after this blindfolded rotation, or whatever you call it, and let that be the starting point. Okay, so that Manikal was like that, and he had that confidence to not to script it and yet
Yes.
take it forward from that point. If you are very strong in your mind what exactly you want,
He doesn't need plans.
Huh,
He can
yeah,
make it.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
Okay, and another example from the Indian scenario I can give you. In the year 2002, there was a film called Let's Talk. It was made by a person called Ram Madhavani, who is basically an ad filmmaker. And this was his first foray into feature filmmaking. And for the first time, he was using the digital media, because in 2002, people still hadn't crossed over from celluloid to the digital medium. Okay, so this is one of the first Indian feature films to be made in the digital medium and then released on the halls after doing reverse telecine. Okay, it's Let's Talk. The male protagonist is Boman Irani, and the female protagonist is some theatre actress, I don't remember her name. So it's about their marital relationship. The woman had a miscarriage, the second child was miscarriage, so that had shattered Boman Irani, and now the woman is having an affair with somebody and she wants to move out and she wants to break the news to Boman Irani. So, she's having dilemma how to break the news and so on. So there are long dialogue sequences. So this also I read when in the making of this Let's Talk, that Ram Madhavani had actually not scripted the dialogues in details. Okay, he had told Boman Irani and that actress that this has to be the outcome of the dialogue sequence. All right, so you people are going to discuss this matter, and you have to take the situation from point A to point B through the discussion, and you can mention points like the miscarriage and some cues he gave that you can bring these points into the discussion. And he shot it with a multicam setup, because he asked them to improvise the dialogue, so obviously they couldn't repeat it if need be, they couldn't have repeated it, so he shot those dialogue sequences in a multicam setup. Okay, so there also he was depending on improvisation of the actors. Instead of giving them exactly pre-scripted dialogues, he was depending on the improvisation. So there are directors who actually make a virtue of this improvisation and this loose scripting. So now I will show you a clipping of a film called Turin Horse by Bela Tarr. So, and the exercise to you will be, watch it carefully and see how you are going to script it. How would you describe this action? What is the camera movement here?
It is a low angle back trolley happening.
Okay, so basically a track shot.
It is a track shot, yes.
Okay. And what is the location?
It looks like a deserted place. A
Very
road.
desolate, not deserted, a desolate
Very
place.
desolate place,
And
yes.
there is a kind of blizzard, wind blowing.
Yes, a very strong wind blowing.
And on the soundtrack, if you pay attention, there is a drone kind of music.
Yeah, drone, an
monotonous
ominous
music.
soundtrack happening.
So an old horse looks like a tired horse, and this cabman. So it's the same shot continuing. Okay, so from backtrack, the camera is going
Sideways.
sideways.
Yes, there is no cut.
No, so far no cut. It started at about 2 minutes 45 seconds or something. The same blizzard is blowing continuously.
it is basically then showing the same thing over a long stretch of time.
Yeah. So they are moving, the camera is also moving. We are having the same journey.
Yeah, the angle is changing a bit, but
yeah, camera is
basic thing
mobile.
same.
So what information is this conveying to you?
A lonely traveler battling himself, battling against the wind all by himself. He's very old.
Horse
It's a
also
long
looks.
road.
It's a long road, and
It's a long
yes,
road.
very long road.
I mean, it could symbolize a lot of things.
Like?
A long, slow life,
Yeah.
and the relationship between an animal and a
Yeah.
man.
Both are old and haggard. That is good.
I think it's almost getting over. So that it lasted about 7 minutes 55. So it lasted about 2 minutes, about 5 minutes. Approximately 5 minutes it
Yes.
lasted. Okay. So tell me, how would you script it? How would you put it into a script?
The way this is
Like
shot, it's
all
very hard.
caps, the tagline, external,
Yes.
day, bleak, countryside, misty, countryside, wind blowing. So maybe
Yes, the
that will be
basic
the
atmosphere
tagline.
can be done.
And then,
Yes.
Then I think we could use description to show the slow movement and the basic drabness of the scene.
okay. So that means in words, you play with words
Yeah.
to bring out the desolation
Yes.
and the drabness and okay. But according to this Hollywood convention, 5 minutes means it will be 5 pages of the script.
Normally.
Yeah, normally.
Yes.
So do you think in spite of all the description and playing with words and bring up the desolation with words, do you think it will take up 5 pages?
I do not think so.
Yeah, maximum 1 page, maximum. Okay,
Yeah.
even if you describe the countryside and the wind and the man and the horse, okay, and the movement and what they're doing, even then it
Yes.
will not take up more than 1 page.
Mhm.
Okay, so these are the things that where these go against the convention, or maybe if you read the script, maybe you cannot fully visualize what the finished film would be like.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a lot is left for to the filming, to the actual filming
creativity
and
of
the
the camera
act of
person.
filming. Yeah, like here the camera movement, that long track shot, first it is back track and then it goes to the side and then it follows from a distance without any cut. So much cannot be put in the script in any case.
No.
Okay, so that the director has to explain to the cameraman, ki this is the effect I want, hold on to it for as long as you can, okay, and see without losing focus or without too much of a shake, without making the frame very clumsy, hold on to it for as long as you can, and then we will see. This sort of an instruction the director gives to the cameraman, and the cameraman tries to do his best to execute that. Isn't it?
Yes.
So this is one example. Another example I have to give you from a film called Weekend by Jean-Luc Godard. This is full of, it's crammed with automobiles. It's not so desolate, but it's still at the same time it's very claustrophobic. actually this is again one take, just like the previous film, but this particular version, whosoever has created has knocked off a few passages. So you will see a couple of cuts here which are not there in the original film. This is again a long track. This people caught in a traffic jam. So all these little elements which you saw, they are playing ball. Then that animals are being taken. Okay, some people have come out to take a break and they are sitting down on the grass and relaxing. So do you think everything is planted there and then the track has started, or has he left certain things to chance and whatever comes during the track will come that way?
I think the animals and those people who are sitting on the grasses, they have been planted by Godard himself, I think, to give that sense of a long time for which the cars are standing there.
Okay.
I think it's planned to a little extent,
Okay.
but the full thing is left to chance, I think.
But you mean that he hasn't, all the cars in the held in the traffic jam are not acting? When some of them are actually,
Some of them are, yes, actually, yes.
actually caught in the traffic jam.
Yes, some of them are, I think.
I think one way it could have been done is if the block was actually administered by them itself. So then all the cars behind the block would actually be real
That means the traffic jam was created
by them.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
And all
Okay.
the cars were actually in real,
Yeah,
for
okay,
real.
okay, possible. But then if it is a plan like that, because there is track happening and the camera has to be at the right place at the right time. Okay, otherwise camera will miss the action. So that way also the orchestration is required between the subject and the camera, so that the camera doesn't miss out the key action during the track. Otherwise the whole thing will have to be repeated again.
Okay.
Okay, so it will be interesting to see the script of this, how did he script it, or whether he scripted it at all.
True.
Okay,
yes.
so like that, lot of things, even in a fiction film, a lot of things are left to chance. Okay, and the script keeps on changing, even at the editing table, even while dubbing, at the dubbing stage also you may change the dialogues a little bit. Okay, so the script, it's a very organic entity. It keeps on evolving at every stage of filmmaking. It keeps changing, it keeps modifying itself, and it gets finalized only when the film gets a censor certificate. And the censor, the script that you submit to the censor board, that is eventually the final script. And as Jean-Claude Carrier says, that then the ultimate destination of the script is the waste paper basket. After the film is made, the ultimate destination of the script is the waste paper basket. Till then, you continuously keep on working on the script, continuously evolving, modifying, deleting little bit here, adding little bit there. Continuously, you keep working on it till you get the censor certificate. So I think we have had a very good series, good rounds of discussion. But we will continue our discussion on the discussion board, in the blog, and so on. So goodbye for now and happy scripting.